Today we are in day number 12 of our Bible reading plan. Genesis chapter 27 and Matthew chapter 9 is what we'll be breaking down today. Let's get right into it. In Genesis chapter 27, when Isaac blesses Jacob, he actually thinks he's blessing Esau. And what we see here is a patriarchal blessing. And that blessing was filled with imagery. It was filled with the imagery of fertile land, abundance from the ground. It was filled with imagery about dominion and dominion over nations, dominion over siblings and their descendants. And there is even an element to this called almost the boomerang effect, that those who bless you will be blessed and those who curse you will be cursed. Now, this blessing does not have anything to do with material inheritance. Isaac is not dividing land from livestock, and it's not identical to the Abrahamic covenant from God. But we do see some similarities between the two because it reflects the basic ingredients of survival and success in the ancient world: land, crops, protection, honor, and so forth. In the ancient Near East, this kind of blessing was normal. It speaks identity and future and destiny, and it actually framed the trajectory of a person's life and the lives of their descendants. Isaac was not just speaking words. He was in a culture where the blessing actually carried real weight. In their world, a blessing was a direction-setting, a direction-altering declaration. And in our world today, it still is. Words shape futures. Words can set a tone for a person's destiny. But when a father blessed a son, he was not just speaking, but was actually and literally shaping the identity that that family would walk in for generations. Esau comes in later and he realizes that his father has already given the blessing away and he is devastated. He begs Isaac, his father, "Bless me also, O my father." But Isaac says he can't undo what he spoke. And why is that? Well, it's because in their world, the spoken word had force. Once that word was released from the mouth of the speaker, it had effect. It wasn't magical. It wasn't superstition. It was real. And words, once spoken, cause real consequences, real results, real impacts. They can't simply be unsaid. Even today, once you speak something hurtful, you can apologize, but you can't unsay it. And once you speak life, it changes someone, and you can't pull it back. So Isaac gives Esau a different kind of destiny, not a curse, but a future shaped in relation to Jacob's blessing. He will live by the sword. He will serve his brother for a time, but eventually he will break free and gain independence. This isn't doom, but it's simply the logic working from this blessing already spoken to Jacob. See, even when someone feels robbed, God does not abandon them. Esau wasn't cursed. He had a future. He had an identity. He had a destiny. It just wasn't the one he was expecting. And Isaac goes on to tell Esau that I have made him lord over you, speaking of Jacob. I have sustained him. These first-person phrases actually matter. Isaac is not claiming a prophetic word from God. He's not saying the Lord has decreed this. You know, in Mesopotamian culture, blessings usually invoked the gods, but Isaac didn't do that here. He's actually saying these are my declarations, and this is my decision, and this is the authority that I have spoken over him. This blessing is coming from me, not a divine command. Now, this shows the patriarchal authority in that world. Fathers could set direction for their children's future simply through spoken blessing. This teaches us something so powerful. You don't need a title to bless someone. You don't need a throne to speak life. You don't have to be a prophet to be a voice of destiny in your family. Isaac wasn't invoking heaven. He was using the authority he already had. And God honored it because God honors structure and order and spiritual authority in the home. See, this story is not actually about deception as much as it is about the weight of words. Isaac's blessing shows that words give identity. Words create direction. Words shape destinies. And once spoken, they're very hard to reverse. Jacob tricked his way into the blessing, no mistake, but God sovereignly wove his purposes through human weakness. Esau lost something for sure, but he didn't lose everything. He wasn't cursed, he was just redirected. And in all of it, we see a timeless truth that when God's hand is on a calling, no human mistake, no family dysfunction, and no messy situation can stop his plan from unfolding. Matthew chapter 9, Matthew, also called Levi, is sitting at his tax office when Jesus calls him. You know, historically, he may have actually been a tax farmer working for Herod Antipas or the local government. His office was also positioned at Capernaum, a town sitting on major trade routes. Many scholars believe he was basically a customs officer, charging taxes on goods passing through. Either way, this job made him wealthy and it made him secure, but it also made him extremely hated. Tax collectors were seen as traitors to the Jewish people, greedy collaborators in Rome, dishonest extortionists. Yet Jesus walks right up to that guy and he says, "Follow me." And Matthew leaves everything. He leaves his money, security, status, and he actually does it. See, Jesus doesn't call the ideal candidate. He calls the available one. He calls the one society throws away and then uses that candidate to write one of the Gospels. See, Matthew goes even as far to throw a dinner party for Jesus. I'd love to throw a dinner party for Jesus. This was actually normal for a wealthy man, showing honor to a teacher. But the guest list wasn't normal. Tax collectors and thieves, the socially immoral, people who didn't care about religious purity. See, tax collectors could be vicious. Some were known to beat elderly women, to find hidden valuables. In Egypt, entire villages moved away just to avoid the taxmen. Not all collectors were as cruel, but the reputation unfortunately stuck. So when Jesus sits at a table with these people, it shocks everyone. To share a meal in that culture meant acceptance and relationship, closeness, solidarity even. See, Jesus is comfortable sitting where religious people refuse to go. He doesn't wait for sinners to come to him. He brings the table to them. The Pharisees sees Jesus eating with this group, and basically they say a holy teacher should not be associating with unholy people. See, in their minds, tax collectors equaled spiritual filth. Pharisees equaled spiritual purity. To them, table fellowship was sacred. You didn't eat with people who didn't follow the law because it made you look like you approved of their lifestyle. Oh, this is so good. They're using verses like Psalm chapter 1, Proverbs chapter 13, verse 20, and their own traditions to justify separation. But here's the key. The Bible warns us not to imitate sinners, not to avoid sinners. The Pharisees forgot that difference. Religious people separate to protect their reputation, but Jesus connects to transform people's lives. Jesus responds with a common cultural analogy. Healthy people do not need doctors. Sick people do. Everyone in that culture understood this because teachers were often compared to physicians, and witty, sharp dialogue was a trademark of good rabbis. Jesus' point is simple. Why would I avoid the very people who need me the most? See, this flips the Pharisees' whole mindset upside down. See, a church that avoids the sick has forgotten its calling. A doctor who refuses patients is not compassionate. He's useless. And Jesus actually quotes Hosea 6:6. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. This is something rabbis used to say when they wanted students to revisit scripture. Go and learn. Go and see. Look again. Jesus is telling the Pharisees, you know the rituals, you know the rules, but you missed the heart of God. Hosea's point was not that sacrifices were bad. It was that compassion, justice, and mercy mattered far more. See, God values transformed hearts more than perfect rituals, because Jesus is saying, I'm not impressed with how clean your hands are. I'm looking at the condition of your heart. Inevitably, as he looks at our heart, we can't help but clean our hands in the process. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not already following us on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the things, make sure to stay to the end of this video or any reel that we post, and you'll see all the associated handles with this podcast. Hope to catch you tomorrow for day 13. God bless.